Welcome to Old San Juan, Puerto Rico, home of one of the most impressive forts in the Caribbean, Castillo San Felipe del Morro. We are taking you along as we walk through this incredible national park, exploring its pathways along the ocean, its winding tunnels, sweeping ocean views, and centuries of history. This fortress has stood watch over San Juan Bay for nearly 500 years, protecting the island from pirates, water invasions, and wars. But today, it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Come explore El Morro with us. Let's see how this massive fort has helped shape the story of San Juan. Let's jump back to the guy on the boom lift. There is a massive amount of restoration work happening on the walls right now. As you can imagine, years of tropical climate has taken its toll on the stone. Now, the National Park Service is carefully removing years of vegetation growth and repairing the old masonry, ensuring that El Morro will stand strong for another 500 years and for future generations. As you could see, we started our walk at the Ocean Path entrance, and we weaved past the walls to the historic red doors and then up to the actual fort. All in all, it's about 3/4 of a mile walk one way. If you plan to walk the entire fort, wear really comfortable shoes, bring water, and make sure to put some sunscreen on. And I'm really glad that we decided to start our route where we did. Walking up to the actual fort was so climatic and beautiful. And along the way, we really loved that winding seaside path, the old stone walls rising beside us, the ocean breezes, and those iguanas climbing the walls and sunning, and even some friendly cats along the way. And about those cats, there are a lot of them, and they have decided that this gorgeous view is their home. Now, there is a local rescue dedicated to taking care of them. It's called Save Asado, and it manages feeding, spay and neuters, vet care, and adoptions when possible. I'll leave a link in the description if you'd like to check them out or donate. Let's dig into some details and history of El Morro. Castillo San Felipe del Morro, most commonly known as El Morro, was commissioned by King Charles I of Spain in 1539. And over 200 years of continuing development and multiple kings, it reached its current form in 1787. El Morro rises 140 feet from the Atlantic shoreline, and its walls are 18 to 25 feet thick. It covers 70 acres and is 6 levels tall, and it was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1983. It was originally built to guard the entrance to the San Juan Bay, and the first garrison of soldiers actually arrived from Portugal. Some brought their wives and children, but many married local women, which is why there are many Puerto Rican families with Portuguese last names. El Morro has seen its share of battles over the centuries for sure, and one of the most famous came in 1595 when English explorer Sir Francis Drake tried to capture San Juan. If that name sounds familiar, it's because Drake is one of the most legendary figures in history, a sailor, explorer, and privateer who circled the globe in the 1500s. He was a celebrated English hero, but to the Spanish, he was known as El Dracu, the Dragon, a feared pirate who raided their ships and colonies across the Caribbean. When Drake's fleet sailed into the San Juan Bay, he expected an easy victory. Instead, El Morro's cannons lit up the night, forcing him to retreat after very heavy losses. The fort held strong, and Drake never set foot on Puerto Rican soil. Some other famous battles include English attack by the Earl of Cumberland in 1598, Dutch attack in 1625, and British attack in 1797. And El Morro's last active fight occurred during a naval bombardment by the U.S. Navy during the Spanish-American War in 1898, ending the age of naval warfare in the Caribbean, at least in the classical sense. Let's talk a little bit more about the Spanish-American War. El Morro had already stood watch over San Juan's Bay for centuries against pirates and foreign invaders, but now it faced a very different kind of threat, a war between empires far across the Atlantic. The Spanish-American War began in 1898, sparked by the rising tensions over Cuba's struggle for independence from Spain. When the USS Maine exploded in Havana Harbor, Puerto Rico, then a Spanish colony, suddenly became a strategic threat. By the end of the conflict, Spain had been defeated. The Treaty of Paris was signed, and Puerto Rico officially became a U.S. territory. El Morro's role as a fortress guarding against enemy fleets was over, but its walls remain a silent witness to the battles, invasions, and history that has shaped this island. After the end of the Spanish-American War, El Morro became under the watch of the U.S. military. The new occupants weren't just there to admire the view, they had strategic reasons. The U.S. Army and Navy modernized the fort to meet the demands of 20th century warfare. During World War II, the U.S. Army added a massive concrete bunker to the top of El Morro to serve as a harbor defense fire control station, and a lighthouse was built by the Army in 1906. And to dig a little deeper into the history of this impressive site, on March 21st, 1915, shots fired from El Morro at the Oldenwald trying to leave the harbor without permission from customs are widely regarded as the first shots fired by the U.S. in World War I. Although, let me clarify that just a little bit. The first actual wartime shots fired by the U.S. came on the day war was declared, and they occurred off of Guam. But that is a history lesson for a different day and a different location. In 1961, the U.S. Army officially retired from El Morro, and the fort became part of the National Park Service. El Morro's history of being considered the key to the Antilles came to an end. And since we've been looking at all these walls, let's talk about how they were built. So they were mainly built from local sandstone quarried near San Juan, combined with limestone and coral stone from the island. Spanish engineers used lime mortar made by burning seashells and mixing it with molasses or, weirdly enough, animal blood. And I'm sure you just noticed that gleaming white wall you just saw previously, and it definitely looks a lot different than some of the other walls. Well, that's no accident. Over the years, conservationist crews have carefully restored parts of the fortress using the same traditional lime wash techniques that the Spanish once used. And this coating isn't just for looks. It helps protect the sandstone and limestone beneath from moisture, salt, and the relentless Caribbean sun. And on those walls, where the lime wash is newly applied, it shows what the fortress would have looked like 500 years ago. Restoration here is ongoing, as you can imagine. Each layer of fresh white lime marks another effort to preserve what time, battles, and climate have tried to wear away over the years. Walking through, you can read the history on the walls literally. Some new and white, others faded and rough, and some still showing battle scars. And just when you think you've reached the end of El Morro and you have seen all that you can, you find another staircase, another tunnel, another section, another level, and another breathtaking view. All in all, I would say that it took us about 6 hours to see what we did. And to be honest, that wasn't even all of it. And I would say some of my favorite parts were seeing the ongoing restoration efforts, being able to walk inside of those castle-like lookout turrets, the iguanas, and just feeling the overall grandeur of the fortress. It's really a humbling experience to walk through such history and feel so small in such an enormous place. Even the smallest details at El Morro were engineered with a purpose. Built into the thick stone walls are an intricate network of drains and channels designed to carry away the heavy tropical rains. The system kept the gun platforms dry and prevented flooding on lower levels. Ah, and here we are at one of my favorite pieces of El Morro history, called a garita. Their placement gave the soldiers a 360-degree view, and the thick stone design and small openings allowed for visibility and communication without exposing the guard. At the very top of El Morro sits the lighthouse. It has existed in several forms, each one reflecting the evolving needs of navigation. And one cool fact, it still works and is turned on every night. A few more details about the lighthouse. The very first light on this site was established in 1846. In 1876, it was moved to a different location. Then, in 1898, it was directly affected by bombing during the Spanish-American War. Following the war, a new one was built in 1908, and that is the one that you see today. Having said all of that, the lighthouse is off limits to tourists. It does have some structural issues, and the National Park Service is hoping to repair it and open it back up to tourists one day soon. As we make our way down to the lower levels of El Morro, it's easy to see that the fort was more than just thick walls and cannons, although it was a lot of that as well. These rooms down here were the heart of the soldiers' daily lives, with chambers serving as a kitchen, storage, and basic quarters for soldiers in the early years. There were also holding rooms for captured enemies, and hidden passageways and stairwells connect all of these spaces so soldiers could move quickly from one area to another safely during attacks. Even in a fortress as impressive as El Morro, life wasn't exactly luxurious. These latrines were basic at best. Simple stone seats built over drainage channels meant to serve dozens of soldiers at a time. Comfort was not the goal here. Efficiency and sanitation was. It turns out that even in a mighty fortress, soldiers had to deal with the ultimate equalizer. Everyone sits to do the do. me add here, it may look like we are descending to the very lowest level, but El Morro did not begin here. There is actually another lowest level that we're going to be exploring in just a minute. Now we're entering one of the very lowest levels of El Morro, the foundation of this 500-year-old fortress. These corridors are some of the oldest parts of the structure. They were built in the late 1500s when Spain first began fortifying San Juan. Down here, the air is cooler and the ocean waves literally echo through the stone. The archaeologists told us that this room used to house cannons, and the small cramped quarters were deafening with the cannon booms. Literally. Many of the soldiers who worked down here lost their hearing from the thundering of the cannon fire echoing off the walls. It was dark, loud, and dangerous. But this place was the beginning of all you just watched. The beginning of what protected San Juan from Sir Drake and the Earl of Cumberland. The beginning of the power this place held for years. Thanks so much for joining us on another adventure. Make sure to subscribe to see where we end up next. And I'll give a little hint. It is Old San Juan.